Hey everybody, Nick Licameli here on Feel Good Friday. Today we're talking about why sometimes you need to be stupid and make mistakes in order to get better. A lot has changed in bodybuilding and fitness and nutrition since I first got into it. Things have changed when it comes to nutrition and training. Nutrition, for example, we used to think that you had to eat every 2 to 3 hours and you had to have certain types of food. There were good foods and bad foods. White bread would make you all of a sudden store fat immediately because of an insulin spike, and a cookie would also make you get fat. You should be ashamed of yourself if you eat a cookie or some kind of dessert or something not a clean food. Now, what we're finding is that you don't have to eat every 2 to 3 hours to maintain muscle and body composition. And we're also finding out that there aren't really good foods and bad foods. Keep in mind that the micronutrients like vitamins and minerals and fiber and things like that, which are very important, are different. But as far as body composition goes, as long as you account for macros and calories, it seems there'll be no effect on body composition. However, I feel that in order to do that, you need to have done it the wrong way in the beginning. I think it taught me a lot. It forced me to learn what a macronutrient was, what a calorie was, what 6 ounces of chicken looks like. I learned a heck of a lot about nutrition. So now, as I'm learning more and more and realize that all those steps that I was doing may not have been necessary, now as I take a more flexible approach to it, I have that knowledge that I gained back in the day. That being said, things like food allergies or sensitivities, diabetes, blood pressure, all these things are going to be affected by the types of food that you choose. For example, a piece of whole wheat bread versus a piece of white bread is going to affect your blood sugar differently in the short term, which would be important to a diabetic. The level of sodium in the food is going to affect someone who's being monitored for blood pressure. So just keep in mind that in general, the types of food we eat doesn't really matter when macros and calories are accounted for. But of course, everyone is individual and there's always exceptions. Training, one example of something that's changed, at least in my mind, is training to failure. When I first got into this, I always trained to failure. Because if you didn't reach muscle failure, then you weren't working hard enough. Or you didn't have the willpower to go through and keep pushing. But what we're finding is that overall volume is what's most important for gaining muscle. For more about overall volume and training to failure, be sure to check my video out down below that really explains that well. So it's starting to seem like not training to failure and rather using a rate of perceived exertion scale, or RPE, is better for gaining muscle. What an RPE scale is, for example, if you are doing a set of squats, you're going to use a rating 1 to 10, 10 being absolute muscle failure, and 1 being piece of cake, no problem. So a rating of 8 would mean that you had about 2 reps left in the tank. A rating of 9 would mean that you had 1 rep left in the tank. And a rating of 10 would mean that you're at absolute failure and cannot do another rep with good form. My training nowadays, I do not take every set to failure, especially compound movements like squats and deadlifts. I'll approach an RPE of about 8 or 9 and maybe go to failure on the last set, but that RPE system, that rate of perceived exertion, does not work if you don't know what going to failure feels like. I spent years training to failure, pushing through that burn as hard as I could. Because I did that, because I know what muscle failure feels like, that makes me better able to use the RPE system. This is the same thing in life too. When I was in undergraduate college, I grinded. I wanted to do the best that I could, but I also pushed other things out of my life. I thought that's what I had to do. I wanted to get A's, straight A's, and that was my goal, to get straight A's. I pushed a lot of things out of my life and I grinded, and I got straight A's. Just like I was successful in training to failure, and I was successful in weighing out all my food and eating only clean foods and eating every 2 to 3 hours. I did it. I was successful doing it. But as I progressed in my college career and eventually my professional career, I realized that grades weren't what was important. As a matter of fact, my last year of graduate school, I didn't look at one grade that I got the entire year, and I still got straight A's. But it just goes to show that it's a change in mindset and you start to realize what's important and what's not important. But again, that last year when I did not track my grades, I was only able to do that because I spent years doing it the other way. So sometimes you have to make mistakes. You have to do things that you look back on and seem dumb. But really, if you learn from it and take those mistakes and make them lessons, it will help you down the road. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.